Step out of the bathroom! Hands on your head.
Watching this scene from the film Catch Me If You Can, where Tom Hanks' character almost busts Leonardo Dicaprio's character, got me immensely fascinated with Dicaprio's character, called Frank.
You're late, alright?
When Tom's character, called Carl, bashes into the room and points a gun at Frank, Frank immediately begins to impersonate a new character to fool Carl, with a level of confidence that you don't get to experience much often. But I developed a deep interest in the scene not because of its entertainment value, but because of the incredible confidence that Frank displays over here. I immediately wanted to identify the root of where Frank got this level of self-assurance. I went back to this scene at 14 minutes 30 seconds where Frank's father is teaching him about believably conning people.
You know why the Yankees always win, Frank?
Because they have Mickey Mantle?
No. It's because the other teams can't stop staring at those damn pinstripes. Watch this.
And then I went forward to this scene at 18 minutes 30 seconds where Frank's father subconsciously feeds him about how high he's supposed to fly in life.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
And then I went forward to 19 minutes 30 seconds where Frank steps into a classroom as a student, but somebody calls out to him as a substitute teacher, and immediately Frank transits into the mind of a teacher and begins to con the whole classroom.
Excuse me, people, if I need to ask again, I'm gonna write up the entire class. Take your seats!
This scene embodies everything that Frank's father fed to his mind subconsciously, and this embodiment is yet again on the display when Carl almost busts Frank, but Frank finds a way out and makes it look so easy that you can imagine yourself standing in Frank's shoes and making a fool out of anybody that you want. But what's equally interesting is that there's a breaking point when it comes to Frank's confidence with manipulating these situations to his advantage. Whenever there are emotional stakes on the line, Frank decides not to deal with them and avoid them altogether. The scene in the movie where Frank's parents are getting divorced, which he thought was impossible, Frank is given the choice to either stay with his father or his mother. He deeply cares about both of them, so which one is he supposed to go for? Instead of his mind working out a genius way to get his parents to stay together, Frank decides not to deal with this and run away from home. This tendency of running away is still on display with emotional stakes on the line, where Frank is once again about to be busted by Carl. But this time, he doesn't just decide to run away by himself. Instead, he persuades his fiancée to run away with him.
My name, it doesn't matter. My name is Frank Connors, right? That's who I am with you.
Now, I got immensely interested in finding out any clues in the movie as to why Frank is so irrational when it comes to these emotional moments in his life. There was a scene when Frank sees his parents dancing together and he envisions an inseparable happy little family. But when his parents get divorced, he doesn't know how to deal with this reality because he doesn't want any other reality. The emotion part of his personality gets further complicated when Frank finds that his mother has married someone else and settled into another happy life. This is the part where Frank figures that his way of life isn't worth it anymore, and what gets really interesting is that he wants his father to ask him to stop all of this fraud business. And not much to my surprise, Frank's father, who perhaps has a much more complex mind than Frank, doesn't ask Frank to stop, and instead he further motivates Frank to fly even higher by any means necessary.
I'm gonna stop now.
But they're never gonna catch you, Frank.
This matter reaches its maximum level of complexity when Frank finds out that his father has passed away, and now he doesn't really know what to think about life. But fortunately for Frank, Carl was there to watch out his back and successfully guide him into having a new purpose in life. Now, instead of Frank playing the fraud game, he will now work with the FBI to fight against the fraud game.
That's a fake.
How do you know? You haven't looked at it.
Well, there's no perforated edge, right?
So in the end, I learned that the divorce scenario was the reason for messing up Frank's mind when it comes to handling emotional scenarios. And so he gets this amazing level of confidence when his mind knows there are no emotional stakes on the line. During the scene where Carl almost busts Frank, if Frank had an emotional connection with Carl, he would have never been able to make a fool out of Carl. But it is only by the end of the movie that these two build a relationship and begin to work together from that point in onwards. Catch Me If You Can is an incredible film with an incredibly confident character. So if you're looking to find some inspiration for gaining some confidence to handle interesting situations, then I would highly recommend watching this film again and again while taking a closer look at Frank Abagnale Jr.
That's Abagnale, not Abagnale, not Abagnale, but Abagnale.
Until then, if you like this video, be sure to click the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel to stay tuned for some film philosophy every Monday. In the hopes of connecting with film lovers all over the world, this is Mr. Zekon in the making of a great story.
You know, I'd call the bank first. I'd check out the balance.
Make sure there's enough money in there to make it worth your while.
Exactly. You know, Carl, I think this guy's pretty smart. Guess all we have to do now is catch him.